I'm Dan Drake. We're back with Front Up on Geno TV and Channel 99. And as our guest, we have a special friend, Nat Lowell.
Yes.
Welcome, Nat.
Hi, Dan.
We got a lot to
see
talk
you.
about. But let's talk about...
We always do.
Let's talk about this tipping point idea that is taking hold with respect to the 40B development out on Surfside Road, which the planning board, I think we need to make clear, has nothing to do with, has no authority over.
I think you see a good article today in the paper
Yeah.
about what we've, the letter that we've written and the
I
meeting that we just had.
Haven't seen it yet, unfortunately.
Okay, that's fine.
But what? You know,
I mean, I think the
are we
tipping.
are we at a tipping point or not?
Okay.
There
I gotta go back to the '90s just for a minute because you really do.
Yeah. Okay.
And
But excuse me, before you do that, let me just say there are there are factors just above population. It's traffic, it's schools, it's all the different components that go into supporting a population infrastructure.
When I first started to dip my toes in the town stuff, it was 1998, and what caused it was two things: this New Bedford steamship sort of takeover, power play,
right?
and the limiting car concept. And Maffey and I are good friends. We talk about this stuff constantly, and we're still at it together, or not. We don't agree on everything, but we were on that committee together, as well as a few other people that are no longer with us now. And at that time, there was the mindset that we were building too much, too many people, too many cars. Well, no one ever really said too many people. That's new. I don't know if anyone would have had the nerve to say there's too many people. How do you determine people?
What's too
like, that's not, is that our decision? I mean, is people to say, sorry, no soup for you to a person? The thing is about right now, so fast forwarding 20 years, the zoning was allowed, a lot of building was already allowed that the general public doesn't understand that to the level that they should, and that's very difficult to explain. But the desirability of the island is so high compared to how difficult it is to even get here. Like, to just even be here for the summer is hard. To be a year-round person now is really challenging. And it isn't just about the cost of a house. It's not easy to live here anywhere,
Right.
okay? And I think that that's where we've lost our sort of sense of separating the traffic and the summer and what we think is too much, what we feel is too much. Like, it's sort of like being full at dinner. Like, I can't eat anymore. I mean, there's a feeling in people's minds that we're full. If that's appropriate, I don't really know what else to say except full. I mean, tipping point was happening 20 years ago. So I'm not going to go there with that term, but I get what it means. I mean, it's the same thing. And I'm friends with all these people. Pat Tafe, I think, is a great guy. I mean, he's kind of taken this on a little bit. We have disagreements about zoning and about, where zoning should have been 2 and 3 acre versus where it is. And we've tried to balance zoning. And no, you're never going to see a 40B on Bartlett Road. That's because it was zoned so small. How would you have a 40B? You'd have to buy up a whole bunch of land.
Different plots.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't work there. I mean, the reason that this spot right now, the Malcolm property, it's almost 14 acres of land. I mean, it's a no-brainer. I mean, it's been sitting there in 2 acre zoning since, whenever. Undeveloped, it might as well be, Henry Coffins. I mean, it's just sitting there, nothing on it, not a single thing except the sewer mains go through it. And we tried to change it to 1 acre 5 times. I thought it was 3. It's 5, actually. And it was shot down at town meeting. And if it was 1 acre, it could have been, there would have been more options that could have been done. But when you have 2 acre zoning in an area that's not an area that's a gentrified area like Pocomo, Quidnet, Guam, parts of the Surfside area that have big lots that are all going to be eventually swimming pool houses. It's just the way that it is. I mean, you can't stop that. But in this area, it's not that desirable for that type of development. So the zoning is the answer to this, but it's really difficult to explain that at town meeting because everybody thinks that everybody's going to get rich off this or some other feeling. And it's like, but we're trying to balance the zoning. Now, here's another example of something, because of the zoning it was able to happen, is this Hawthorne Park. Now, you're starting to see that come together now. It looks nice. That was essentially a Wally World in a different place. I mean, it was. And it took a year to clean it up. And now it's going to be a cluster. But that was in half-acre zoning. So the amount of development that could have happened there was a lot. It's going to be less now. So the developer, or the person that bought it from the Larrabees, was able to have choices that better fit today's needs, or I guess I would say market. Okay? Now, am I happy about that being not year-round housing? Sure, I'm not happy about that. But there isn't really a way to force that to happen on every piece of land. Okay? So
let me put another factor into the equation, another tipping point, if you will. That has nothing to do with housing or number of people, but has to do with the expense of not only living here, but renting here, eating at dinner, and so forth. And there are signs this summer, from what I understand and what I've observed myself, that is starting to become a factor. I was in one of the most popular restaurants in town last week for dinner, and it was virtually empty.
I haven't heard that.
Well,
I mean, most of the restaurants, I haven't heard that one yet. But I'm not saying it's not true. I haven't heard it.
I saw it, but it's not.
Was it a Monday or a Tuesday?
It was a Thursday night.
Thursdays usually.
Yeah, and I've seen this with other restaurants that, I mean, they weren't as empty as this particular one, but the other ones are not full. And
they regulate themselves, though. I mean, restaurants pretty much, if you see how they all sort of open and close at different times.
I'm talking about the price of going out to dinner.
Yeah.
And the price of rentals. I hear you, and I'll tell you a couple of things. I'm not mentioning any names because it's everybody has their right to do certain things. So what we're seeing now is there's more people taking advantage of that summer rental that are locals. Right.
This is where it gets, how do you can't, this is like limiting cars or limiting something. It's very difficult to control that. If you can get, I'm just saying.
I'm not suggesting it should be controlled.
No, I know. It's a trend. It's the market.
It's the market.
And so affordable rental stuff, I was just talking with Tucker about that the other day, and I've talked to Ann about that too. It's a very, very difficult topic because there's not criteria set up
my concern,
to make that an advantage for the property owner.
Is that the island is getting a reputation of being very expensive and only for really wealthy people.
For new stuff, it is.
Well, new houses, but I'm talking about rental, summer rentals.
Yeah.
It used to be a middle-class summer resort.
Yeah.
It's not. It's
no, it hasn't been. It hasn't been that for a long time.
Well,
the only middle-class summer rental is a house that doesn't have air conditioning.
Right.
Seriously, I'm not being funny. If you have an old house near the beach, and you can get a family with their surfboards and coolers and whatever to come and rent that house for less money, that's about the only thing you're going to get. You have to have a pool now or some other amenity.
Again, my understanding from several real estate agents
Yeah.
is that the rentals are softer this year than they were last year.
You get me on some. I haven't asked anyone that yet.
Yeah.
I just know that no matter what's going on, it looks busy all the time.
It does look
no
busy.
matter what you do, because
right.
here's something I want to say to you. Just as a little, this is something I kind of came up with a few weeks ago. If you had a way to track your mileage on your car for Mid-Island only, it'd probably be 80%.
All right.
Doesn't matter. I'm just saying, you're driving in the worst traffic all the time. So it's hard for you to say, oh, we're out of the Callahan Tunnel now, or we're out of the, we're on 93 North now. Oh, beautiful. It's not like that here. You're in the same existing imperfect intersections.
You get out the Mattocket Road.
No, but you know what I mean.
Yes.
It's the imperfect intersections that cause all these backups that we have. And that's where we get into this roundabout discussion, which now has become, I can't believe that there's a lot of people, at least it seems that they are against them, but roundabouts work. And you can think they don't, and that's okay, but if you sit and watch the cars at the post office, just sit there for a little while and just hang out in the parking lot at the post office, watch that roundabout and watch each part. You're never going to see a vehicle or two not moving all the time. Slowly, but moving. An intersection, you can have one car at each spot and no one's moving for any given time. It's because everybody's guessing what the other person's going to do. That's just the way it is here. If we decide as a town, and I don't think we could do this, but let's just say we decided as a town to do nothing. Just do nothing about intersections. That's an option, but how will that affect the tipping point mindset or the next big problem that we, ebb and flow to? We've had this happen before. When we have the next recession, which will happen, Nantucket will, as usual, not get affected as much as other places, but we'll still have a time where we forget all this. Like First Way. Nobody wanted it fixed 12 years ago. Now, 5 years ago, we were getting complaints that why isn't it fixed? I was still on the part where we were supposed to not fix it. Now it's fine. It has speed humps. I haven't heard one complaint, personally. I'm not saying there's none. I'm just saying I haven't heard one. But we tend to forget what we were either for or against a short time ago. So back to the tipping point feeling. I definitely know that there's a legitimate feeling amongst a lot of people. They're right to feel that way. But when you analyze the island as a whole and the seasonality of it and how much work that's provided here, the philanthropy, I call it the free stuff. I mean, here's one. 24 years ago was Nantucket Golf Club, 1994. Everybody was against it. It was the worst thing.
Worst idea
ever. Now we wait and see how much they're going to pay the kids for college. We expect it. We don't even know that we were against it. There's a lot of those. Great Harbor Yacht Club. Tried to take it by eminent domain. Now we have all sorts of events there. With a lot of, it's a beautiful place. I'm not trying to say that we don't have a right to be against something, but you had to look at some of these things historically to see, hey, that wasn't such a bad idea, or
well, a lot of
know what I mean?
A lot of the reaction against something initially is knee-jerk. It's new and it's bad.
I mean, we get, you get back to here we go again with the boat stuff. We weren't supposed to talk about the boat, but the boat is part of the tipping point because some people think we should have less service because there's more cars. Well, the cars are parked in garages. We had 1,700 less last year, one-way tickets. So I say it's already hard enough. I don't care if somebody's car, summer person or even a Nantucketer that has to wait in line for a couple days for the car to get here. It's sort of part of it. In the fall, you can kind of do whatever you want. For the most part. I'm just saying there's a degree of difficulty here. I mean, it used to be impossible to leave the island when there was nobody here. You had to go to Woods Hole. So now we've got all this service to Hyannis, and it's still difficult, but imagine if we weren't in Hyannis. Now you got a problem. Like, we're pretty lucky to have this system that we have, even though it seems difficult at certain times, and everybody runs into a problem 2 or 3 times a year that's their own unique story, but it happens, So what
do you want to talk about? We've got 5 minutes.
We do? Okay. What do I want to talk about? I want to talk about the improvement of Straight Wharf sidewalk. We're on our way to fixing things. Mm-hmm. It's slow. This isn't Arizona. The South Beach Street, I like to call that Beach Street. I'm going to try to get, maybe somebody can try to get that changed. Don't you think we should have South Beach, Beach, and North Beach? I mean, why do we have South Beach in the middle? Kind of weird. Mm-hmm. So with that process that happened, you know, it wasn't just as a result of the sewer main, but that helped it happen quicker because the road was closed and there was a lot of work that was going to be done. That was widened about 22 inches. You don't hit the curbing anymore.
It's a huge difference.
It's like 20 feet wider, but it's only 2. Mm-hmm. It needed to just be a little bit bigger because of the truck mirrors, and if 2 trucks pass at the same time, or 1 truck and a car, a boat trailer. So the delineated brick that was Rob's McNeil's idea on that proves that people will walk in a they sort of walk in the right place if it's delineated. Mm-hmm.
Most of the time.
Well, you know what I mean, for the most part. My biggest problem is mopeds and car spaces. I'm sorry. I haven't written anything about it. I've tried to do something to traffic safety. I send pictures to different town officials. It's incredible.
Yeah,
we have, at any given time, I would say 10 spaces downtown at any given moment, right this minute, taken up by a moped parked in the street all day. They can park all day and never get a ticket because you can't ticket a moped because it's not registered. They're licensed in some cases, the engine size. There's all this weird stuff. Put them near a bike rack. Put them in a bike rack. Put them in a wide sidewalk near a tree.
Or make a space that has 3 or 4.
They're not impeding anything any more than a bicycle on a sidewalk in the right spot. Broad Street, where the bike, most of them are, is used as a business, the whole street for the most part, especially on the weekends. I think we should try to get them to ask people to do this. Now, they say they do. I'm not really sure, but I see this all day, and I just can't believe that we haven't addressed it. We can move mountains here now, but we can't get a moped out of a car space. I just can't believe that this can actually happen.
Enough said about that.
But as far as the other improvements, there's going to be more, and I think that we have the right mindset in place with DPW, with transportation planning, with Mike, and to pick away at a list every year to fix a lot of these problems, but they're not all going to be fixed overnight. It's going to take time to do it.
What's going to happen at town meeting, special town meeting? Are we going to get some of these things through or not?
It's not a lot of stuff on there.
Right.
There's not a lot, but what that's going to help us with is some of the stuff with sewer, some of the stuff with DPW can't go year to year. It has to be broken up.
Right.
There are things that come up that, like, if you wait till April, there are other problems with whether it's procurement or whether it's, there's a lot of other things
timing
involved.
Issues,
it's all timing stuff. So this is sort of helping other departments. It isn't so much to have, more zoning or more something else.
Would it not make sense to divide zoning up between 2 town meetings?
Well, we've got like a few things, but they're more housekeeping ones. They're not. We're going to have a small list this spring too for the April. We just looked at a quick list. We got to let people sort of catch up to us a little bit. It's going to take some time, and I think as much as I feel bad about the tipping point issue and all the people that are angry, and I get that, but at the same time, we have to catch up to it. Like, all of a sudden, in 2 years, we won't be talking about Richmond anymore.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I'm trying to give you...
There'll be something else.
There'll be something else. That will all of a sudden look good. We'll forget that we were complaining, and there'll be a new problem. So I just have developed a mindset of thinking of what something will look like when it's finished, which I never had that before. That was not something... It took me a long time to think that way. And it's difficult. And I feel for everyone that feels this way. It's not that I'm like in favor of more houses or more cars or more kids in the school, which is another issue.
Right.
I don't know if I like hearing that one. The school report. Well, I call it the baby report. That's what it is. And a complicated conversation. I
It's
mean,
a
you
very
can have
complicated-
the conversation, but boy, with the way things are in the United States right now, I can't even believe we can have that conversation here. Be careful what you say. So, Dan, it's always good to see you.
Nice to see you, Matt. Thanks so much.
Have me back anytime when there's
This is a good
an opening.
This was a good conversation.
and we can
today.
talk about something else the next
Lowell,
time.
thank you very much.
All right, take care.